They roots in their press to a marrow fungus that borrowed a bleed symbiosis starlight forged in Deimos' shadow. A figure in gilded decay kneels, palms pressed to a fungus that bleeds starlight. The void does not consume, it negotiates. Steel palms immortality. Forged in the void does not Deimos consume shadow, negotiates trading slave economies for a biology that whispered back. What if their survival was not defiance, but a ledger entry in a debt older than the origin system? The void did not spare them. It demanded a witness. What if the Entrati's immortality wasn't a gift, but a theft? The Myconians of Deimos, original stewards of the void's edgewove symbiosis into resistance. The Entrati took their biology, not Orokin favor. The void did not intervene. It needed a host, a vessel to taint the origin system's code. The Indifference watches through their stolen flesh. The man in the wall whispers in mycelial veins. Every breath they draw is a ledger entry. Every death they cheat, a line in the void's memory. The Tenno are not saved, they are remembered. The Entrati were not born of war, but of a wound, a scar where the void first bled into the origin system. The sentient war shattered God's Orokin machines that shaped worlds turned against their makers. From the ash of that collapse, the Entrati rose. They were not warriors. They were accountants of survival. Orokin immortality was a cage of gold, but the Entrati sought a key forged in spores. A fungus whispered in Deimos' dark. It did not rot, it remembered. The Entrati took the Myconian spores, wove them into their flesh. The void's corruption recoiled, not destroyed, paused. The fungus became a ledger, each thread a counter to the void's hunger. The Entrati did not cheat death. They borrowed its terms. The void did not strike, it watched. The Myconian secret was not resistance, but negotiation. A debt not in gold, but in waiting. The Entrati thrived, their spores spread. The Orokin, desperate, did not ask how, only that they served. The first Entrati was a nameless thing, half mad with fungal fire. They knew the cost, to be a bridge, not a master. The void does not forget, it cultivates. The Entrati are not saved, they are the pause before the strike. The Myconians of Deimos did not flee the void. They folded into it, their bodies woven with that whispered counter-entropy. The Entrati watched, they took. Where others saw rot, they saw a covenant flesh rewritten to bargain with oblivion. The void does not forget, it archives. Tenno are remembered as resistance. The Myconians, their symbiosis was a language the void spoke in silence. The Entrati learned the script, they grafted to bone, became living palimpsests. No master, no slave, a transaction. The Myconians offered their secret, the Entrati offered their future. The void let them. Why? Because adaptation is a form of obedience. The man in the wall does not need hosts, it needs experiments. The Entrati believe they cheat death. They do not, they are its syllabi. Every graft, a lesson in how flesh might yet be the void's most patient student. What if their creed is not defiance but translation? A truth written in blood. Survival is not a victory, it is a sentence. The void remembers. The Entrati forget to breathe. At the heart of the Entrati's cults stand the avatars of Indifference, of flesh-bound vessels for the man in the wall. Their robes pulse with Myconian spores, a symbiosis stolen from Deimos' buried fungi. Below them the hierarchy fractures. Cult brood initiates in spore-dusted rags, sporekin mid-tier acolytes with fungal masks, and the hollow choir, high priests who whisper to the void. Power shifts like rot in the walls. To ascend, one must endure the trial of unmasked exposure to the void's touch. 90% crumble to dust. The survivors, their bones knit with mycelium, their minds hollowed for the Indifference. The records from whispers in the walls hint at this theft. The Myconians did not just resist the void, they became its custodians. The Entrati, desperate, carved their biology into their own. The void does not act, it endures. Yet here is its paradox. A species that should have been devoured walks in its shadow, unbroken. Did the void permit this, or did it choose asterisk? The avatars do not ask, they do not breathe, they only wait. What price survival when the host becomes the prison? The Entrati have forgotten the question, the spores remember. The Entrati did not bargain with gods, they plundered a fungus's will. Myconian spores, not Orokin grace, let them cheat the void's hundredth. The void never forgot their theft. The fungus paid in silence, in spores and time. The void remembers. What does it hunger for now that the host is broken? The Zariman 10-0 incident was no accident. Tenno bodies cracked like brittle stone. The Entrati thrived. Myconian spores coiled in their veins, turning void radiation into a second breath. The Orokin watched. They did not marvel. They calculated. A species that outlived the void was not a marvel. It was a weapon waiting to be forged. The Myconians of Deimos had learned what the Entrati stole. Their fungal networks did not fear the void. They negotiated asterisk. Spores wove through rock, through bone, through the Indifference's silent gaze. The Entrati, hungry for survival, carved that knowledge from their hosts. A theft so complete the Myconians became footnote in their own extinction. Orokin labs dissected Entrati blood. They called it adaptation. The fungus paid in silence. The fungus paid in spores. The fungus paid in time. The Entrati did not bargain. They were bargained with. Their bodies became bridges between the void's hunger and the Orokin's ambition, between the Indifference's watchful eye and a system it could not yet control. What did the void hunger for? Not death, not life, balance. The origin system pulsed like a heartbeat. The Indifference needed a vessel to tip its rhythm. The Entrati, cursed with Myconian fire, became that vessel. Their survival was no triumph. It was a spark in a dry forest. The Orokin fanned it into flame. The void let them. The fungus does not forget. It does not forgive. The Entrati walk a blade's edge between two masters. One demands power, one demands patience, and beneath it all the Indifference waits. For when the origin system fractures, the fungus will bloom again, and this time it will not be stolen. The Indifference does not bargain, it cultivates. Fungal threads in Orokin veins became a cipher for its design. Balas, the Empire's broken blade, weaponized that cipher. His war against sentience drowned the Orokin in their own stolen marrow. The lotus wove her own lies like mycelium dense, deliberate. Asterisk protection, asterisk she called it. A mother's blade between the Tenno's ribs and the void's reach. The Myconians of Deimos knew no masters. Their fungal fire burned true, a resistance the void could not consume. The Entrati took, they twisted. What the Myconians gave the void could not claim until the Entrati offered it back, threaded with Orokin need. A paradox to cheat death, they became its vessel. Bala's betrayal fractured the Empire's spine. The Lauda's mercy became a shroud for Tenno sins. And the Indifference, it waited, patient. The fungus does not ask asterisk why asterisk. It only blooms where light has been buried. Did the void permit this theft? Or did it asterisk orchestrate asterisk it? A host is not chosen, it is made. The Myconians' truth lies in their silence. Their fire now fuels a shadow war. Entrati spores drifting where Balas wars once bled. The Laudas lies like mycelium, bind what might otherwise collapse. Grief has many faces. One is a fungus, one is a traitor's name, one is a mother's hand, closing around a blade meant for her child. The Indifference does not weep, but it remembers. Every spore is a debt, every lie a root. And when the origin system cracks, the bloom will come, as it was, as it is, as it asterisk must be asterisk. The modern era is where this faction's story becomes strange. The Entrati's fungal-infested kinship was no accident symbiosis, not salvation. A bargain struck in shadow, Orokin patronage for Myconian biology, roots threading void-touched flesh. The void did not consume them, it asterisk cultivated asterisk them. A puppeteer's hand, ancient and patient, weaving through spores and bone. Why? Because the harvest waits, and the watchers have always measured time in blooms. The Entrati no longer blade, their veins host spore chains, a stolen defense against decay. Deimos Myconians wove symbiosis into survival rooted in soil, not sacrifice. The Entrati took what they needed, a fusion of rot and resilience, not a trade, a theft, yet the void permitted it. Why? Because balance requires leverage. The war within revealed the Indifference's first breath, a hunger beyond malice. The man in the wall watches, listens. The Entrati are his marionettes, their fungal grafts a bridge between entropy and order. They spread spores in Tenno veins, in sentient strongholds, threading chaos with purpose. Their leaders, ghosts in mycelium. Names like Hekra and Zalivath, erased by their own cunning. The Levirian archives whisper of a pattern. Each spore blooms in sync with the Indifference's pulse. A harvest not of bodies, but of time. The void does not consume, it waits. The Entrati's rebellion was never their own. They are the patient's scalpel, the unchosen vessel. Their biology weaponized, their will subsumed. Yet in this, a truth festers. The Myconian's gift was never about defiance. It was about waiting longer. The harvest waits, and the watchers measure in blooms. The Myconians did not fight the void. They folded into it, roots threading the abyss like veins. The Entrati took this gift, no, this burden, and wove it into flesh. Their spores do not kill the void, they feed it. Yet the void lets them thrive. Why? Because hunger is not always consumption, it is patience. The Tenno wear warframes as children wear masks, borrowed skins of technocyte survivors. The Entrati wear the void as a second heartbeat, both are vessels. Both are watched, the void remembers Tenno, it remembers Entrati, not as enemies, as echoes. A fungus does not ask if it is host or host. It simply is asterisk. The Orokin called the Entrati traitors. They were wrong. The Entrati bartered not with power but with time. Mycelium networks do not rush. They wait for cracks in the world's foundation. The Entrati's survival is no betrayal. It is a mirror, a question. What is a soul if not a contract rewritten? The void does not devour all, it selects, preserves. The Entrati's fungal pact is not escape. It is coexistence, a paradox. To defy annihilation you must become its partner. The Tenno chase purity, the Entrati chase balance. One fights with light, the other with shadow. Both are pawns, both are gods. The war is not about winning, it is about meaning asterisk. And in the silence between blooms the void listens, it always has. A spore drifts through the void, its glow is a stolen breath. The Myconians wove mycelium into chains, not to flee but to bargain. The Entrati took those chains, wove them into skin. They called it immortality, the void called it currency. What is a god but a guest with a longer lease? The spore pulses. Each beat holds 1,000 deaths, 1,000 borrowed years. The void does not forget, it archives, it always has. And in the quiet between stars, the spore whispers. Survival is a language the void understands. It speaks in spores, in silence. In the slow bloom of what remains, the void is not just a place. It is a patient architect carving time in fungal threads. The Entrati thought they cheated death. They merely lent it a vessel. The spore drifts. The void watches, it always has. What happens when the void's host begins to ask why it serves? The Entrati's rebellion is not against death. It is against the fungus that lets them cheat it. The Myconians of Deimos did not bargain with gods. They wove spores into their sinew, became living crypts for the Indifference. The Entrati took their recipe, brewed immortality, and awakened something older than the void's hunger. War within whispers of the Indifference's first breath, a shadow that does not hunger, only wills asterisk. Next week we ask,